You are now tuned into the sounds of
Big Nate Sports Talk.
It's on all the time, anytime.
Tuned in to Big Nate Sports Talk, the show that is on all the time, anytime. And now, ladies and gentlemen, your host, Nathan Snell.
And as always, thank you, Mr. Anthony Handy, for that wonderful introduction. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is your host, Nathan Snell, the Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. This is episode number 389. In this episode, we are talking about the Maryland Terrapins football team. But before we get into that, there's a few things I want to say up front. You should already have seen by now the Washington Commanders and Baltimore Ravens recap. This upcoming weekend, the WNBA playoffs is upon us. So I think it's time, sometime tomorrow, we'll have a preview of the 8 teams as the one mind, one goal series returns again for the playoffs. Be tuned in for that series. I think it's going to be a great playoff series. I think it's going to be a great first weekend of games, playoff-wise, first round. But be tuned in for that episode. And then also to be tuned in for the recaps, obviously, as we're getting also ready for week 3 of the NFL season. And yes, taking it from there. But let's just get right into it. So the Maryland Terrapins, coming off a interesting week before, loss to Michigan State, but Virginia. It was our first time we've seen them from our ACC opponent and did what we needed to do to win this game. The final score, ladies and gentlemen, 27-13.
That's what I'm talking about. This shit means something to me, man.
So let's first and foremost, let's get into the takeaways here. So 20 points we scored in the second half, and especially Virginia was a game I knew that was going to be a bounce back game for us. If the biggest concern for me was containing that offense. And in the first half, Virginia did that. Anthony Colandra in that first half threw for 989 yards on 13 completions and a rushing touchdown. But that second half, that's where we've made the adjustments. The first quarter, for some unknown reason, was very sluggish, and I don't know why. The second quarter, both offenses found their rhythm. It took us a little longer. But we made the adjustments, and I'm going to kind of start slightly on the positive side. So Billy Edwards Jr. starts with him. Biggest thing was how he was going to come out. The biggest question is how he's going to look, and particularly making the deep throws. He's been consistent the first 2 games. The first or last 3 games, he's thrown consistent for 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's the question coming into the season was making the deep throws. And we did see that. And there was a couple passes, especially in the first half. There were 3 that were intended for Caden Prather. and they were all incomplete. And two of those three were on the sideline, which were very, very questionable throws. I need my clip.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
And then the third one, I thought Prather was running a seams route, and it just went out. It was just a bad throw. But I thought, especially in the second half, he looked more poised, especially in open drive of the third quarter. They connected on the sideline, 26-yard reception, but 26-yard touchdown, excuse me. Then Ty Felton had a 37-yard catch and run, his longest play of the evening. And then he got to Wade on that left sideline. He got better. I think, and that also helps the quarterback's confidence. Now, the running game also too, was struggling because Ramon Hemby finished with 33 yards on 10 carries, and once again, we really had to rely on the passing.
He didn't even try.
And some of that is going to be on. I think that's coaching. I think those are simple adjustments. No, I mean, we did see some, in the running game, Nolan Ray, Colby McDonald, both average, 5 yards per carry, but that came in the second half. The biggest thing was in credit, and I credit Virginia on this. They were playing deep covers, and they were wanting us to run the ball, and I think that's where we had to make the adjustment. My next positive was our defense. Well, excuse me, creating turnovers, taking the opportunities that were given to us. And some of those turnovers were fortunate. The first one was a fumble where I don't know, it had to be by accident, but Anthony, the quarterback for Virginia, he fumbles the ball, and then the ball's kicked out of his hands in the red zone. That's the first turnover. The second one was Levine Scruggs. He punched the ball free. And then there were two interceptions that were credit our front seven that pressured, and then Anthony, who was hit 7 times, and he was sacked once. And those were not, unfortunately, he had to get rid of the ball. Most quarterback coaches would tell you, if you feel under pressure, throw it out of bounds, throw it to the sidelines. And that's what Dante Trader Jr. and Jalen Husky, they both had those interceptions. Even though we had 7 points off the turnovers, those were key turnovers. Those 4 right there. I have to give us our fly. I have to give the fellas some love on that. They played exceptionally well, and especially, and that happened in the first half, and they stayed in the game. So I have to give those guys that. But also, too, biggest thing was, listen, for a second time you faced them, you were down 13-7 at half. Your offense struggled. Your defense didn't break. I still think we need to work on the penalties. I think we had 7 penalties, if I remember correctly. I think it was for 51 yards just in the first half.
I can't defend that. What do you want me to say to that?
But in the second half, I didn't see anything like that. It looked like it was a completely different Maryland team out there, and credit them for what they did. But those are the things that are going to hurt our momentum, because especially some of those penalties were early in the game. Especially there was one where it was a holding penalty in the first quarter, and then there was an encroachment, and that killed our drives. Then there was a pass interference, I remember correctly, and especially those were just a few different, as an example. But I think that we did pretty good. We took advantage of using quarterback sneaks, keepers, mixing the drives, especially in the red zone. We did a lot in those areas, and I just think credit a strong second half. Those are my positives. And especially also too in the defense, when you're after giving up, you have 288 yards and 13 points in the first half. We held the Cavaliers to 82 yards in the second half. We finished with 20 points and 250 yards in the second half, and that is a great stat. And we held the ball at least almost 22 times compared to their 8 minutes, if I remember correctly. I think to and credit Brian Williams in the defense, I think they did a great job on disguising, switching up different schemes and stuff like that. But there are things that we could control. And we did those things, and credit our defense. Now, I hate to do this, but we got to get into the negatives. Biggest thing for me is, again, you have to be better at playing all 4 quarters strong. And I thought for the most part, it looked like Virginia was going to get us. And again, some of it was self-inflicted. I mean, you couldn't get anything going. And Virginia defensively didn't do anything. They didn't do anything special. And I was really trying to sit there and figure out what went wrong. And for me, it's just, I don't know what it is with the slow start. In the first quarter, for example, we had 47 yards total as an offense. You finished in the first half with 141 yards. 46 of that was rushing the ball. 95 it was passing. I mean, then Jack House was the 52-yarder in the first quarter. And then Ty Felton, he took the lead by 1. I don't know what it is with these slow starts, but a lot of also too starts with our run game. And I thought my biggest thing was, getting the run game. We got to get the run game going. And getting the offensive line still, I think, needs another week or 2 to adjust, and they'll be fine. Outside of that, I give the guys their credit. Hey, we're starting to put it together. Things are clicking. Biggest thing also, too, another negative was the early penalties. Gotta dumb that down. First half, those were really my 2 negatives, really, and then the penalties. Outside of that, Maryland played some great football, which I'm really proud of, and that's what you're looking for. And and especially, actually, hold off on that. I'm gonna take a break, and when we come back, we're gonna preview the game against Villanova. So stay tuned. And we're back. And Maryland this upcoming Saturday is playing Villanova. Villanova, this is definitely bringing back some memories. This is our first test. This is our last really true matchup before we start facing some Big Ten opponents. And the Wildcats are number 5 at the on the FCS level. This is going to be interesting. We're taking on a Wildcat team that was 10-3 last year, and they were 7-1 in the CAA. This year, they're 3-0. They're looking pretty good. Mark Federant is his 8th year, I want to say, as the head coach for the team. They like to run that run pass option offense, which they like where they get chunk plays, especially against a defense that can be a bit interesting. They like to definitely use play action. I think their running game is probably one of the best. Looking at some of the tape, one couple of people I circled on my list, and one of them was the Mr. Connor Watkins. He is a senior graduate. Congratulations, Connor. He's well versed in their scheme, and he doesn't make too many mistakes. Now, the one thing about his numbers are not box office, but he's not thrown an interception. And kind of like Anthony from Virginia, he can run, and he averages about 6 yards per carry, if I remember correctly, on more than 8 carries per game. They got our freshman running back. I think if I remember correctly, at the stats, he leads with 36 carries and average almost like 7 yards a carry. I'm curious to see how we'll look up on that one. Looking at the tape, they don't really have the size up front. It's interesting. I actually kind of like, well, let's look at the defense. And there's not a guy that really, I would say, like, can challenge in size. So I'm curious to see how our run game will look against a defensive line that doesn't have size. Now, I definitely think down the stretch that's going to wear your defense out because you got to make stops. Their red zone defense, however, is arguably one of the best. They've allowed 8 red zone trips, and the Wildcats have allowed just 2 touchdowns and 2 field goals. I'm curious to see how we'll look in the red zone, and I'm very, very concerned. I'm curious to see how we'll look come the first quarter. That, to me, sets the tone for this game, running the ball. Now, MJ Morris should be good to go because he is off the injury report from last time I saw, so I'm curious to see if he's going to get some playing time out there. We did have an injury we did have an injury. I'm curious to see how that'll look, but a couple injuries. Roy got hurt, but I think Marcus Dumerville will probably start in his spot. I can't remember how he got injured. He didn't get pulled out the game, but he did say Tuesday he does expect him to play. As far as Roy goes, but we'll see how they look. Another king for me is Ty Felton has been on a tear. He's been looking really good. He's the first Maryland player to finish with 100 yards receiving in 3 consecutive years. 3 consecutive games. 178 against UConn, 152 against Michigan State, and 117 against Virginia. So I think it's just his confidence, just his growth. Biggest thing is also, too, the biggest thing coming into the season was looking at the losing, Rakeem Jarrett, Jacob Copeland, and those guys, kind of seeing the young guys kind of step up. So especially kind of coming in this year with Ty, I know he dealt with an injury, and it's good to see the confidence in him, really at a high momentum right now. So I'm very proud of him. I'm curious to see how he'll look at this game. But kind of want to emphasize, going back to what I said about starting in the first quarter, we were held scoreless until there was about 54 seconds left in the first half. We did have the field goal, but that can't happen. If it's going to be like that against Villanova, it's going to be a long, long game. And I'm confident in this team. We're looking for our 15th consecutive win against a non-conference opponent. I'm excited. I believe Maryland can hang in there, but I think the game's going to be close. I'm actually going to pick Maryland to win this game by 3. I'm going to say the Maryland Terrapins win 27-21.
Guaranteed.
I just think my concern right now is really just how it really starts with our run game. If our run game sets the tone, I think we'll be okay. I think our defense did enough to keep us in the game against Virginia. I'm curious to see how we'll look defensively, especially against the pass, because they're going to definitely run a lot of play action, a lot of run option. It's going to be something. Containing Connor Watkins is going to be something. And then they have Isaiah Ragland. he's going to be something to watch as well. So that the defense, I'm not really intimidated by, but I would hope that this is a game where the run game gets going. I expect it to be something. I expect Ramon Hemby to lead the team with about 90-something yards. But yeah, that's my prediction. That's my preview this upcoming week. But let's get into one final thought, ladies and gentlemen.
Thoughts are running through my mind, so I took some time to find a minute or two to organize them.
So, as you see in the title of this video, in defense of Mike Locksley, it's interesting the time that Mike Locksley's been here. I think he's been the most criticized. I think it's been something. And I'm really disappointed, to see, especially after the loss to Michigan State, people were calling for his job. You had reporters saying that the Virginia game was a must-win. And I tweeted something I thought that was very profound. I thought was real, which was honest. I didn't see the need to panic because this is a group that's going to have growing pains. This team has won 3 straight bowl games under Mike. I don't know what you guys want the man to do. And I think some of the conversations are disingenuous. First and foremost, there are people that come on and support, but you can't say he needs to win the big one and you're not supporting the team. You had a reporter that took a selfie in the press box at where the Cavaliers play, and no one showed up at their game and saying this was and he said, and I'm paraphrasing it, but essentially saying this is a must-win game for Mike Locksley. And I'm sitting here going like, so let me get this straight. So a guy who's won 3 bowl games, you're 3 weeks into the season, and you've already thrown the towel on the guy. I mean, what other coach has turned the program around like this? I'm gonna be honest. We didn't do this with DJ Durkin. We did not. And I know I don't like to bring up the past, but Mike has done a lot for this program. When he came in, this program was shitty. It was a mess. Culture-wise, I think recruit-wise, Mike turned that around. To win 3 bowl games in 3 consecutive years, not too many coaches can say that. So I think we need to be very careful of, instead of always criticizing, because you're not going to win all of them. See, there's levels to this. It's all about staying the course and being patient. In these last 3 seasons, there's growth. And it's because of Mike Locksley. And I just really want to take this moment to really give him his flowers, because I just think it's just really, I just thought it was just disingenuous to like really see reporters and fans just kind of like, oh my gosh, like the season's over, and that's crazy to me, and it shouldn't be like that. And for me, I'm more about, at the end of the day, give this team time. It's part of the game. The game's about making mistakes, but this notion that you have to win, and if you do win, what's going to happen? Because respectfully, I watched us stay in some big games, and no one's come out to support. And when I say that, that's being honest. So I just really implore us to be better when we're criticizing a coach. I can see if we hadn't done anything and we had win, and we're like Northwestern or Rutgers, then that's different. But it's not been like that last 3 years. I don't know what you guys want the man to do. And we're 3 weeks into the season. Relax. But that's going to do it for this episode of Big Nate Sports Talk Podcast. I apologize for being on my soapbox. I really wanted to get that off my chest. But I'm going to play something that I really think is really I didn't play it last week, and it felt really, really good to hear it again. So give me 1 second. But please like, comment, and subscribe for all future content. I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Have a good weekend. Peace. Stay up.
First of all, congratulations on a hard, tough, gutsy rivalry win. All right? And nobody ever said this was going to be easy. And to be able to get on the road, go down, and not even flinch. Not even flinch. No. And I told you, relentless was going to be our pillar word this week, and we weren't going to be distracted. And they tried everything they could to distract us, but you got to stay in the moment, man. I'm going to tell you right now, that was a good, hard, tough-ass win that we needed to have, and it was because of how we approached it mentally. And now you understand what not looking at the scoreboard looks like. And now you understand that we put the work in, but it's all about on game day, staying in the moment. Defense, man, when you needed to get a stop, you did. Offense in the second half, when we needed those tough-ass yards, we lined up and got them. Special teams, we finished. But what we got to do now, fellas, is we got to get the consistency out of the mentality of how we approach it, because we got out of our own way. I felt no anxiety. I felt nobody's stress. No, we got to come back. We got some guys banged up. Get your asses in there and get healthy. All right? Everything for us is the same. Our preparation is the same. Nothing changes. Be smart. All right? We got to get back, get your rest, and we got to get in and get back on schedule, man. We lose a little time. Let's get this behind us quickly, and then we got to get ready to be back in the shell. And we need to put on a better show than we did the last time we were at home. And that's what it's about. Was y'all ready to do this? Hey, now let's sing this damn song, man. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and Maryland, we're all behind you. Praise high the black and gold. And nothing that's so glorious. Got to see our team victorious. We got the team boy, we got the team boy. Keep fighting, don't give in. Let's go! F-A-R-Y-L-A-N-T, Maryland, we'll win. Whoa!
Thank you for tuning in to Big Nate Sports Talk. If you enjoyed that episode, be sure to like, subscribe, and share Big Nate Sports Talk. It's on all the time, anytime.
And I want to thank you. All I want to do is say thank you for everything you do.